Have you ever had one of those nights where everything seems normal until it doesn't? You know the feeling, the subtle shift in the air. Something's off, but you can't put your finger on it. You try to ignore it, thinking it's just your imagination playing tricks. But what if it isn't? I never thought it could happen to me until that night. The night I was told to shut the door at exactly 10:04, and I didn't. It started like any other evening. A quiet night in my apartment. The kind of night where you can almost hear the world breathing around you. The kind of night where everything feels safe. But something happened that made me question everything I thought I knew. It all began with a phone call. A strange number. One I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. I wish I hadn't. The voice on the other end was calm. Too calm. It was a whisper, barely audible, but with an authority that sent chills down my spine. Shut the door at 10:04. Don't question it. I remember the cold shiver that ran down my back. The clock on the wall ticked away, but I couldn't look away from the phone. I waited for the voice to say more, to explain why I had to do this. But there was nothing more. Just silence. At 9:45, I couldn't stop thinking about it. What did it mean? Why 10:04? The minutes dragged on, each second a weight pressing against my chest. I glanced at the door. The thought of closing it felt wrong. But I had to do it. And yet, I didn't. At 10:03, I hesitated. Something was tugging at my mind. It wasn't just the voice. It was something else. I could feel it. An unease I couldn't explain. A presence right behind me. Watching, waiting. I knew I was running out of time, but I still didn't shut the door. At 10:04, everything changed. I heard it. A knock. Soft, almost gentle at first. Then louder, more insistent. My heart raced. I didn't move. I couldn't. My feet felt like they were stuck to the ground, glued by some invisible force. Another knock. But this time, I did hear something else. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. I tried to turn the lock, but it wouldn't budge. It was like the door was fighting me. And then I realized there was someone on the other side. Someone who had been there all along. Someone who knew exactly what I had done. Or rather, what I hadn't done. The door creaked open. I didn't have to look to know who it was. It wasn't just a person anymore. It was something far worse. The thing that had been waiting outside all along was finally inside. And it wasn't going to leave until it got what it wanted. And now, it's your turn. Don't let it in. You've been warned. Sometimes, survival depends on following a rule. A simple, unbreakable command. For the man in Shut the Door, at 10:04, the stakes were clear. Close the door, or face the unknown terror lurking outside. One mistake was all it took to unravel his world, leaving us haunted by the echoes of what might have been. But rules, you see, aren't always so straightforward. In some cases, they aren't just about locking the danger out. Sometimes, the danger is already inside. Which brings us to our next story. A mother, her child, and a fragile line drawn in salt, the only thing standing between them and the darkness beyond. But what happens when that line breaks? This is the story of Salt, a tale where desperation and sacrifice collide in a battle against relentless evil. They say desperation makes us stronger. But what if your only weapon is something as fragile as salt? A line drawn between life and death, tested in the dead of night. It's late. The darkness outside feels thick, almost alive. Inside, a mother clutches her daughter tightly. Her breathing is quick, shallow. The room is eerily silent. No creaks, no whispers, no wind. Just silence, but she knows they're there, watching, waiting. The salt is their last defense. It started with a mistake. A tiny careless crack in the protective salt line around the house. That was all it took. A scratch, a smudge, and suddenly, the demons were at their door. No one knows where these creatures come from, but one thing is certain. Salt is the only thing keeping them out. Without it, you're gone. The mother moves quickly now, scattering more salt, checking the lines, trying to repair the breach. Her hands shake, spilling grains on the floor. She whispers reassurances to her daughter, but her eyes dart to the shadows. They're shifting, swirling, and closing in. And then, it happens. A faint creak, not outside but inside. The air grows cold. The salt line on the windowsill. It's smudged. She grabs her daughter and retreats to the kitchen. Her feet crunching on spilled salt. Her mind racing. There's no time, no escape. A shadow looms at the edge of the kitchen doorway, unnatural in its movement, flickering like static on an old television. The mother grabs the salt and flings it at the creature, but it only buys her a second. It pulls back, hissing, regrouping in the darkness. She doesn't have enough. Not anymore. The salt line is incomplete, and the creatures know it. Her daughter, brave but terrified, holds out the last handful of salt. "Take it," she whispers. The mother looks at her, at the tears streaming down her small face, and realizes there's only one choice left. Her daughter has to live. She pours the salt around the child, forming a perfect circle. The shadow bursts forward as the mother turns to face it, empty-handed but determined. The door slams shut. A scream echoes through the night. Morning comes. The child is found safe, sitting in her circle of salt. But the mother, she's gone, taken, sacrificed to protect her. And as the child grows older, she'll remember her mother's last words. Never break the line. A line of salt to hold back evil. How far would you go to protect the ones you love? The next time you step into the dark, ask yourself, is your line strong enough?